Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop build. Today and probably the next few days we're going to be working on some column forms for the covered walkway of the shop. So I first wanted to show you the plans of what things are going to look like so that you have kind of an understanding of what we're going to be doing. So this is the elevation view. All four of these are the elevation views. This is what the elevation from where you pull down into my driveway. You can see a garage door, and then you got a covered walkway right here. Okay, so what we're going to be forming up is the columns and footings for these posts right here. This is the other side, looking the other direction. So there's our guest house side, and then up here, so from the house looking over to it, as you come down the driveway, okay, you walk around. We got a door, a man door going into the shop. So the shop goes from about here to here, and then over on this section you enter to go into the guest house. So, and then this is the other side. So these columns here, this one's gonna be about 5 feet tall, about 5 feet, 4 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. And the reason being is the terrain kind of slopes down so much. So these columns and footings got to go down to native soil and up so high, they're gonna go up to finished floors where I'm gonna have them at. Okay, and then the sidewalk, so there's gonna be a whole bunch of gravel brought in here to raise the sidewalk up to, well, about 7 inches below finished floor, right in these areas here. And then over here is just gonna be a few inches below finished floor. All right, here's a section view. And over in this section here, this is where footing is going to be. But this footing needs to be down here lower because where native soil is. So I have to have a column going up to where this point is here. But this F18 footing, there's another detail on it. But up here in the notes, in the journal notes, it says F18. It's an 18 by 18 inch footing by 12 inches thick with 2 number 4 rebars each way. So I'm gonna make sure that my footing is bigger than 18 by 18, which it is. And I'm gonna make sure it's at least 12 inches thick. And then I'm actually gonna be using number 5 bar. And I need at least 2 bars each way down there on the bottom. So a little grid of that sort of thing. And if this was 18 by 18, 3 inches in from each direction, so that would be 6 inches smaller. So a little grid footing at the bottom of this would actually be a 12 inch by 12 inch grid. So just know that when we get out there to put in the rebar. I'm gonna use a Sonotube for a column to raise it up to well, finished floor. And I want it to go up by finished floor. This concrete's gonna go around it and not on top of it, because if this soil expands and contracts just a little bit, which I suspect it might even raise and lower a 1/2 inch. I want it to be independent of what this column is. So if it was just resting on the column, it could crack because the ground underneath it would shrink and go down. I want this sidewalk to be able to go down with it. So that's something else that's a little different than what's gonna happen. So, all right, so I wanted to show you, this is a Sonotube. This is what a Sonotube looks like. It's a cardboard product. It's kind of a waxy film on the inside, so it gives a nice smooth finish. I got some other ones I poured earlier. Got other videos on those. So same kind of process as before, but this is what I'm gonna use. I got some that are 5 foot tall, some are 4 foot, and some are 3 foot. So, and I still will probably cut those down to exactly what I need. Here's the forms, some 2x4s. And the inside opening, it's square, but it's just to kind of hold it to elevation, as you'll see. But from outside to outside is, in this case, 12¼ inches. So slightly more than that. That's what this is from outside to outside because of the thickness. It's about 3/16 for that thickness. So here's one. It's not set yet. So the process that I need to do is I'm going to set a concrete stake from my batter board. I'm going to come over 6 feet
or at least do the math that either the outside or inside edge of that, which that might be better, and put a concrete stake here. And then I'm going to do the same thing down there. So I might have to measure over, plumb down, put a stake, and I can put a string line from here to there. And I think it'd be best if it was one side of that, because it can also keep it square this way. And I can put all those in actually. And then I can slide them this way or that way, depending on where my line is here. Okay, so that 4x4 that's gonna go there, it's gonna be 6 feet to the outside of the 4x4. And to the outside edge, the north side, is gonna be right on the edge of that 4x4. So for this particular one, that's that. And then from the centers, or excuse me, from the outside to the outside, which is 54 feet, you take that divided by 6, that's gonna be your spacing in between each one of those. So that's what I'll be doing. This first one will be to the outside, and then to the center, and the next one will be to the center, to center, to center, and then to the outside. So in that case, so from the center of this one to the center of these two, there's gonna actually be a little different, and I'm okay with that. So that's kind of just an overview. Here's the process. 5'4", I'm gonna go to this outside edge. Yeah. Kind of square, letting gravity do its thing. Like that. And frankly, even if I'm a 1/8 off, it's not gonna matter too much. So I want to come over a little bit. Like that. So right to this outside edge. This edge here. And for that, now I'm going to do the same thing down there. What I do, take one of these rebar caps, because I don't want one of my kids or somebody to fall on it. So safety first. Then we do the other end. All right, so we got our string line up on both ends. And as far as this goes, from this inside edge, I'll bring it over to our string line. So about back a little bit. I don't want to cave anything in on accident. I need to pull it back this way by an 1/8 inch. I have side angle. Pull it over a little. Put 2 more stakes there. And then I'll still be able to slide this way. Feels a little more solid. I want to, I could even raise this up, kind of somewhat make it more level. Oops. So from here, the next thing I need to do is put a string line from there. Basically, it could be right on the corner of my footing, or my foundation right there. So let's do that. And I can either use another string line, I can use my chalk box. In this case, I'm going to use my chalk box. Outside of this. And this is the outside edge. So I made another mark 2 7/8 off, which eyeballing down. Looks like I need to slide it this way a little. So if I plumb it up, maybe go that way another 3/4 of an inch. Another 1/4 inch. If I want, take some of these scraps. I'll raise this up a little quick. Not that I have to, but a lot closer. And then right there. Basically, I need to be on this string line. So this should be darn good. That's good. Making sure I'm square. When I nailed this together, I want to make sure I was square, which that's good. So now I put some screws into it on each one of those, and it locks that in place. And then it'll be ready for Sonotube. And basically the height of my Sonotube, well, I'll have to figure that, because it's going to be the height of my form over there. That one's 1.5 inches lower, so it kind of slopes. Actually, it might be right exactly where I want it. So, yeah, might be exactly where I want it. So I'm going to have a 12-inch footing, and to the string line I got 1'7", 1'6 3/4. So it'll be, or excuse me, 2'6 3/4. So I want 1'6 3/4. Sonotube. Write it on there. 1'6 3/4 Sonotube. And to this 2x4, how much of that Sonotube I want sticking up? I want 6.5 inches. So I'm gonna write that on here too. 6 1/2 inches. So the concrete, excuse me, that's not gonna be right. I want this at finished floor, so I'll have to get my 6-foot level. Whoops. 6-foot level, this particular one. If I want concrete at there, I want level. That. We are 7 inches. Zip sticking up. 7 inches. inches is how much I want sticking up. And I'll keep that 1 foot 6 3/4. It'll be up a little higher than it needs to be, but that's okay. Perfect. So got to get this screwed in place. Cut a sonotube to 1 foot 6 3/4, and that one's done. And I can move on to the next one. All right, so there's 6 of these, and there's 5 spaces in between them. So I took the 54 feet and I divided it by, on my Construction Master calculator, and divided by 5 gives me 10 foot 9 5/8. That'll be to the center of this one from the outside edge of that one. And it's also that number between each one of these. So I'm gonna write in here 10 foot 9 5/8. That'll be to that center mark right there. And I got a string line, so I got to plumb it to that string line. Let's do that. Move it over where it needs to be. I cleaned out the bottom of the hole, and it is bigger than 18 inches by 18 inches. So that's our. So I'm going to stake that over here. This way. There. Eyeball, but I got 10 foot 9 3/4 or 5/8. So I'll have to go that way like an inch. So, and I can move that after I put the stakes in. Pretty soft ground right now this time of year. Pretty soft ground this time of year. Okay, so now I can double check that my line is good. Let's see here. Where am I going? Okay, pull this up. 10 foot 9 5/8. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark. Make a mark on it. That's how much I need to move it over. And that is 1 3/16 here. Measure over 1 3/16. That's how much I move it over. The drain?
Huh?
Oh, that drain out there, that's just for my gutter for the house to get the water out. Otherwise the water is all coming in here. And eventually that drain will extend over this corner so it's not around this area. But what do you think?
All right with me.
Well, good. Good. That's the main thing. We'll finish that one. But these fill up with water, so I'll have to be get all the water out, and then pour the concrete, and then it's fine after that. All right, so we got all our templates in, our 2x4 templates, and we also have all our sonotubes cut to length. Now, what the engineer called for was, I believe a number 4 bar, but these are number 5 bars, a little bigger, but that's okay. And it said 2 bars each way. So I got a 24-inch footing, is only needed to be 18-inch. So 18 inches. Minus 3 inches on each side left me with 12 inches. And rather than doing a straight bars, overlapping them and tying them, I just bent them and electing to go this way. Also, it needs to be 3 inches up off of the bottom. The reason for 3 inches is because water can wick in and over time and rust it out. So 3 inches kind of helps prolong how long that lasts. So I'm gonna prop them up with these dobies, and they're 3x3x3 dobies, and yeah, use them. They're just easier. Don't want to eat.
Here we're going to use the 2-foot level to plumb it. It's just wedge fit right now. The top of this sonotube needs to be flush, in this case, with finished floor. So making it level also makes it plumb because it's a nice square cut. And then grabbing my 6-foot level, because it's just far enough away, I can measure down or put it right on top of it and be level. If it's level, then we're good, and we're gonna put some toe screws into it. Here is another example of me changing my mind. The stem wall in that particular location was 1.5 inches higher than finished floor, so I'm gonna actually bring it down that other 1.5 inches so that it's flush with the inside finished floor. Each one of these sonotubes are going to end up having 4 screws in it, one on each side of my little collar form. Since I'm leveling it, it's also going to be plumb, putting the screw in the other side directly in through the sonotube. It's okay if the tip of the screw is actually inside the concrete a little bit. All of this is below grade, so it's not going to be shown. Leveling it the other direction, which also plumbs it, I just need to make it level, and then it's good to toe screw, in this case, on both sides. Well, and that's a completed pier. Moving on to the next one. Just like the other one, same process as that first one. It's just gonna be a little bit taller. The rebar, I gotta make sure when I pour it that it's in the center of the column, but other than that, everything's going good.
All right, so as you can see, we got the columns, the piers all done. Got the sonotubes all in. We got some rebar in. Here's our short one. So it's getting 2 pieces of rebar. And then as we get down here further, it gets taller and taller. Still with 2 in here. Here you can see one. I got a little crossbar in there just so that it, a little bit of water too. That'll be okay. And then as we get to the taller ones, then it has 3 pieces of number 9 bar. So this right here is about 3.5 feet for a sonotube. Still looking good. And then down here is our tallest one. Not too tall, but our concrete, you know, is going to be about 7 inches below that for our sidewalk out here. So we got a lot of backfill to come up with. Down in here, It's got 3 number 5s. This should be more than adequate, and that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully you like this. Hopefully you learned. This is pretty cool. So good stuff. The next step is pouring concrete. So see you guys on the next one. Make sure you be safe out there. These columns, they turned out really good. These piers, rather, not really columns. Well, they're columns. Pouring them with the concrete, just boiled out at the bottom like this. And then as we're pouring, we have a vibrator in there, and we're pulling up as we're pulling the concrete hose up and out. In this case, we use the pump that we use for the concrete wall, and just brought it over here. That was the easiest, you know, of course. Yeah, so everything looked and turned out really well for our concrete columns. Sonotubes, you know, works out real great. Now, there's times where, you know, if it's unstable, you could put a brace in and whatnot. In this case, how we're pouring straight down into it. We didn't need those braces connected to it. And they all turned out pretty plumb. So yeah, it looks good.